Kang Tae-ho sat in the back row of the auction hall. The plastic chair was hard and cold. The room smelled like old coffee and dust. Around him, maybe 20 people waited for the government surplus auction to begin. Most of them looked bored. A few checked their phones. Nobody expected to find anything valuable here. Tae-ho was 34 years old. He had dark circles under his eyes and a 3-day beard on his face. 6 months ago, he had owned a small shipping company, 3 ships, 12 employees, a future. Then his biggest client went bankrupt. Then fuel prices tripled. Then his ships got seized by the bank. Now he lived in a 1-room apartment above a noodle shop. He had exactly $4,000 left in his account. After today, he would have even less. His phone buzzed. A message from Park Min-ho. Lot 77. Trust me. Tae-ho looked at the auction list. Lot 77 was near the end. The description said only, orbital hangar, location classified. Sold as is. No inspection permitted. The starting price was $1. Min-ho was a black market dealer. He sold information to people who needed it and asked no questions. Tae-ho had helped him once, years ago, when Min-ho needed to move some cargo quickly and quietly. Since then, Min-ho sometimes sent him tips. Most of them were useless. A few had saved Tae-ho's business, back when he still had a business to save. The auction began. The first lots were exactly what Tae-ho expected. Broken mining equipment, expired military rations, contaminated storage containers. A woman in a gray suit bought most of them for almost nothing. She probably owned a recycling plant. Lot after lot went by. Tae-ho waited. When Lot 77 came up, the auctioneer paused. He was a thin man with glasses and a tired voice. He looked at his papers, then looked at the crowd. Lot 77, he said. 1 orbital hangar. Location will be provided to the buyer. No inspection before purchase. Sold as is, where is, with all contents included. Starting bid is $1. Nobody moved. Do I have $1? The auctioneer asked. Silence. Tae-ho raised his hand. The auctioneer looked surprised. $1 to the gentleman in the back. Do I have 2? The woman in gray did not move. The other bidders did not move. Nobody wanted an orbital hangar with no inspection allowed. It could be empty. It could be full of toxic waste. It could be anything. $1 going once, going twice. The auctioneer hit his gavel. Sold. Tae-ho signed the papers 20 minutes later. The clerk gave him a data chip with the hangar's coordinates and a warning. You know this lot has history, right? The clerk said. He was young, maybe 25, with nervous eyes. What kind of history? 3 previous owners in the last 50 years, all dead within a year of purchase. Accidents, they said. Probably just bad luck. But I thought you should know. Tae-ho took the chip. Thanks. He called Yoon Hana that night. Hana had been his friend since childhood. They grew up in the same neighborhood in Neo-Busan. She was smart, stubborn, and had a talent for fixing things that should not be fixable. After 10 years as a military engineer, she quit and started her own repair shop. She was the only person Tae-ho trusted completely. You bought what? She said. An orbital hangar. $1. And you want me to help you open it? I need an engineer. You're the best I know. Hana was quiet for a moment. The last 3 owners died, Tae-ho. I know. And you still want to go? I have nothing left to lose. She sighed. The sound was familiar. It meant she thought he was an idiot, but she would help him anyway. Fine. But if we die, I'm going to be very angry. Hana had borrowed a small shuttle from a friend who owed her money. The flight took 6 hours. The coordinates led them to a lonely orbit around a dead moon, far from any shipping lanes or stations. The hangar was huge. It was shaped like a cylinder, maybe 500 meters long and 200 meters wide. The metal was old and dark. There were no lights, no signals, no signs of power. It looked like a tomb, floating in space. "That thing is ancient," Hana said. "Pre-FTL designed. Maybe 600 or 700 years old." "Can we get inside?" Hana scanned the hangar with the shuttle sensors. "There's a docking port on the north end. Looks like the seals are still good. Power is dead, but I can cut through the outer lock manually." It took Hana 2 hours to open the doors. Teiho helped where he could, holding tools, passing cables, keeping the lights steady. The work was hard and slow. When the final seal broke, a rush of stale air escaped into space. "Air pressure inside is normal," Hana said, checking her scanner. "That's weird. After 600 years, it should be vacuum." They entered the hangar. The first thing Teiho noticed was the silence. It was absolute. Their footsteps echoed in the darkness. Hana's flashlight cut through the black, revealing walls of ancient metal and cables that hung like dead vines. The second thing he noticed was the ship. It sat in the center of the hangar, resting on landing struts that had fused with the floor. It was a warship, old beyond imagination. The design was crude and angular, nothing like modern vessels. The hull was covered in rust and damage. One wing had collapsed entirely. The cockpit windows were cracked and dark. "KRS 0071, Hana read from the faded letters on the hull. "First Fleet designation. This ship is from the first expansion era. Is it worth anything?" Hana walked around the wreck, her flashlight moving over the damage. "No. The hull is compromised. The reactor is dead. The metal is too corroded to salvage. This thing is junk, Teiho. I'm sorry." Teiho stood in the darkness, looking at his $1 purchase. A worthless ship in a worthless hangar. Another failure to add to his list. Then he noticed something strange. "Hana, look at the floor." She pointed her light down. The metal floor was clean. Not just clean, perfect. No dust, no debris, no marks of any kind. "That's impossible," she said slowly. 600 years of abandonment, and there's no dust?" Teiho felt cold. Not from the air, from something else. A feeling in his chest. A sense that they were not alone. He turned around. For just a moment, he thought he saw something in the shadows. A shape. Watching. Then it was gone. "Did you see that?" he whispered. Hana's face was pale. "See what?" Teiho stared into the darkness. The darkness stared back. "Nothing," he said. It was nothing. But he knew he was lying. Something was in this hangar with them. Something old. Something patient. And it had been waiting for them for a very long time. They stayed in the hangar for 3 weeks. Teiho told himself it was because he needed to find something valuable. He had spent his last money on shuttle fuel and supplies. If he could not find anything worth selling, he would have nothing. So he searched. Every day, he walked through the ancient corridors, opening doors, checking rooms, looking for anything that could save him. He found nothing. The warship was exactly what Hana had said. Junk. The weapon systems were melted. The engines were dead. The cargo holds were empty. Even the furniture had rotted away centuries ago. But Teiho kept searching. He could not explain why. Something kept him there. A feeling. A pull. Like a voice at the edge of hearing calling him deeper into the dark. Hana noticed it too. She worked on the ship's computer systems, trying to recover any data that might be valuable. Old military records could sell for good money to the right collectors. But the computers were dead. The memory banks were corrupted. She found fragments of logs, broken pieces of words, but nothing complete. On the 8th day, she stopped working and sat down next to Teiho. "Do you hear it?" she asked. "Hear what?" "The whispers." Teiho was quiet for a long time. Then he nodded. He had been hearing them since the second night. Faint voices in a language he did not recognize. They came from everywhere and nowhere. From the walls, from the ship, from inside his own head. Sometimes they sounded like questions, sometimes like warnings, sometimes like prayers. I thought I was going crazy, he said. If you're crazy, then I'm crazy too. Hana looked at the darkness around them. There's something here, Taeho. Something alive. Maybe we should leave. Maybe we should. She paused. But we won't, will we? Taeho shook his head. He could not leave. Not yet. Not until he understood. On the 12th day, Taeho found the sealed door. It was in the deepest part of the ship, behind the engineering section. The door was different from the others. It was made of black metal that did not rust. Strange symbols covered its surface. They looked like writing, but not any writing Taeho had ever seen. Not Korean, not English, not any alien language he recognized. The symbols looked older than language itself. Can you open it? He asked Hana. She studied the door for a long time. There was no handle, no keypad, no visible lock, just smooth black metal and ancient symbols. I don't know how, she said. There's no mechanism. It's like the door is waiting for something. Taeho touched the metal. It was warm, not hot, just warm, like living skin. The door opened. It did not slide or swing. It simply was not there anymore. One moment solid, the next moment gone. Behind it was a chamber, small and dark. The walls were not metal. They were stone, black stone, covered in the same symbols as the door. In the center of the chamber was a throne. On the throne sat a figure. It was humanoid. 2 arms, 2 legs, 1 head. But it was not human, not anymore. Its skin was gray and stretched tight over bones. Its eyes were closed. Its hands rested on the arms of the throne. It wore no clothes, no armor, nothing but dust and shadow. It looked dead. It looked like it had been dead for centuries. Then it opened its eyes. Taeho could not move, could not breathe, could not think. The eyes that looked at him were not empty. They were full, full of time, full of patience, full of something that should not exist. The figure did not speak. It simply watched. Its gaze moved from Taeho to Hana and back again, studying them, measuring them. Hana grabbed Taeho's arm. Right now, they ran. They did not stop until they reached the shuttle. Hana started the engines. Taeho sat in the co-pilot's seat, his hands shaking. They flew toward the docking port. The port was closed. That's impossible, Hana said. I left it open. She tried the manual controls. Nothing. She tried to cut through the seal. Her tools did not work. She tried to send a distress signal. The communications were blocked. They were trapped. For 3 days they stayed in the shuttle. They did not sleep. They barely ate. They watched the darkness outside the windows and waited for something to happen. On the 4th day, the whispers stopped. The silence was worse. It was heavy, pressing, like the moment before a storm. Then a voice spoke. It did not come from the shuttle speakers. It did not come from outside. It came from everywhere at once. You are not afraid enough. Taeho looked at Hana. Her face was white. Who's there? He called out. I am what guards this place. I am what waits. I am the watcher. The air in the shuttle grew cold. Frost formed on the windows. Taeho could see his breath. What do you want? He asked. I want nothing. I need nothing. I only watch. I only wait. I have been waiting for 600 years. Waiting for what? Silence. Then, for someone worthy. For someone to pass the test. What test? The voice did not answer. Instead, the shuttle door opened by itself. Cold air rushed in. Beyond the door was darkness. But in the darkness, Taeho could see a shape. Tall, thin, waiting. Come, the voice said. It is time for you to understand what you have purchased. It is time for you to learn what humanity has forgotten. Taeho looked at Hana. She was scared. He was scared too. But they had no choice. They could not run. They could only go forward. He took her hand. Together they stepped out of the shuttle and into the dark. The Watcher was waiting for them. It stood before the ancient ship, no longer sitting on its throne. It was taller than Tahoe had thought. 7 feet, maybe more. Its gray skin seemed to glow faintly in the darkness. Its eyes were fixed on them. "You are not the first to find this place," it said. "Others came before you. 3 in the last 50 years, many more before that. All failed." "What?" Tahoe asked. "The test, the judgment, the choice." The Watcher tilted its head. "They came seeking treasure. They came seeking power. They came seeking escape. And when they found only an old ship and an old creature, they tried to destroy what they could not understand. What happened to them? They died, not by my hand, by their own fear, by their own greed, by the weapons they brought to use against me." The Watcher's mouth curved into something that might have been a smile. "But you are different. You brought no weapons. You sought no power. You came because you had nothing left." Tahoe swallowed. "Is that why you let us live?" "I did not let you live. You have not been judged yet." The Watcher stepped closer. "Tell me, human, why did you buy this hangar?" Tahoe thought about the question. He thought about his failed business, his empty bank account, his lonely apartment. He thought about all the things he had lost, and all the things he would never have. "Because it cost $1, he said. "Because nobody else wanted it. Because I had nothing to lose." The Watcher was silent for a long moment. Then it nodded. "Good," it said. "You do not lie, even to yourself." It turned and began walking toward the ship. "Come. It is time you learned the truth about this vessel. It is time you learned what humanity once was, and what it could become again." The Watcher led them through the ship. The corridors that had seemed dead before now glowed with faint light. It came from the walls themselves, soft blue, like moonlight on water. Tahoe did not know where the power came from. He did not ask. Hana walked beside him, her hands still in his. She had not spoken since they left the shuttle. Her face was calm, but Tahoe could feel her pulse racing through her fingers. "This ship was called KRS-0071, the Watcher said as they walked. "It was one of the first fleet, 200 ships that left Earth during the first expansion, 700 years ago." "I know the history," Hana said quietly. "The first fleet tried to colonize new worlds. Most of them failed. A few made it. That is what the records say, but records can be changed. History can be rewritten." The Watcher stopped before a door. The symbols on it glowed at its approach. "What do you know of the Silence Years?" Everyone knew about the Silence Years, a 200-year period after the first expansion when most records were lost. Historians blamed a global data crash, a virus that destroyed the old networks. Nobody knew what really happened during that time. "They say it was a catastrophe," he said. "A dark age. Humanity almost went extinct." "Lies." The Watcher's voice was flat. "The Silence Years were not a catastrophe. They were a war." The door opened. Behind it was a room filled with screens. They flickered to life as the Watcher entered. Images appeared. Ships, planets, battles. During the first expansion, the colony ships encountered the elder races, the Watcher said. The Velith, the Crom, the Seventh Choir, civilizations millions of years old. They ruled this galaxy before your ancestors climbed down from the trees. He saw fleets of thousands firing weapons that looked like starlight. The elders did not welcome humanity. They saw you as animals, insects, vermin to be exterminated before you could spread. The Watcher's eyes reflected the screens. They came to destroy the first fleet, all 200 ships, every man, woman, and child. But some ships survived, Hana said. The colonies exist, humanity exists, because of this ship. The Watcher touched a screen. The image changed. It showed KRS-0071, but different, new, powerful, surrounded by a light that hurt to look at. During its journey, this ship found something in the deep black, a derelict station, older than the elder races themselves. Inside was technology from the first builders. The first builders? Taeho had never heard the name. The ones who came before. The ones who seeded this galaxy with life. They created the elder races. They created the conditions for humanity to evolve. And, before they vanished from this universe, they left behind tools, weapons, tests. The Watcher's face was unreadable. The crew of this ship found one such weapon, and they used it. The screens showed battle footage. KRS-0071 against a fleet of Elder ships. Hundreds against one. The Elder weapons fired. They should have destroyed the human vessel in seconds. Instead, the human ship glowed. The light expanded, and the Elder fleet simply stopped existing. 17 fleets, the Watcher said. In one day, this single ship destroyed 17 Elder fleets. Thousands of vessels. Millions of soldiers. Gone. Taeho could not speak. He watched the footage. He watched entire armadas vanish like dust in wind. The Elder races surrendered. They agreed to leave humanity alone, to let you spread to the stars, to never speak of what happened. The Watcher turned to face them. The Silence Years were not a dark age. They were a victory, the greatest victory in human history. And it was erased, forgotten, buried. Why? Hana asked. Why hide it? Because of what it cost. The Watcher walked to the center of the room. The weapon of the first builders requires a price. Power does not come from nothing. It must be paid for. What was the price? The Watcher was silent for a long moment. Then it raised its hand and touched its own chest. Me. Taeho understood. The gray skin, the ancient eyes, the centuries of waiting. You were crew, he said. You were human. I was the captain. The Watcher's voice held no emotion. My name was Cho Sunwoo. I was 41 years old when we found the first builder's station. I had a wife on Earth, 2 daughters. I never saw them again. What happened to you? The weapon needed a guardian, someone to protect it, someone to ensure it would not be used by those unworthy, someone to wait until humanity needed it again. The Watcher, Sunwoo, closed its eyes. I volunteered. The weapon transformed me, made me immortal, made me something other than human. And I have been waiting here ever since. Hana stepped forward. Waiting for what? For the test to be passed, for someone worthy to claim the weapon. Sunwoo opened its eyes. The Elder races remember what happened, even if humanity does not. They have watched this hangar for 6 centuries. They have sent agents to destroy it. They have killed every owner who might unlock its secrets. But they cannot enter themselves. The first builder's technology does not allow it. Why not just destroy the whole thing from space? They have tried. The weapon protects itself. Nothing can harm this place from outside. Sunwoo looked at Taeho. But from inside, it can be awakened, or it can be destroyed. That is the choice. What choice? Sunwoo walked to the largest screen. It showed not battle footage, but a single image, a human handprint pressed into black stone. The previous owners who found me tried to take the weapon by force. They brought explosives, cutting tools, weapons. They thought they could steal power. They were wrong. The weapon judged them and found them unworthy. They died. And if we're worthy, then you claim the weapon, you become its master, and you gain the power to reshape the galaxy. Sunwoo turned. But be warned, this power is not free. It changes those who use it. It demands sacrifice, and once claimed, it cannot be abandoned. Taeho looked at Hana. She looked back at him. What if we don't want it? He asked. What if we just want to leave? Sunwoo's face showed something. Maybe surprise, maybe respect. Then, you may leave. The door will open. You will return to your life. You will forget this place, and it will forget you. Sunwoo paused. But know this, The elder races have not stopped watching. They know someone has entered the hangar. They will come. And if you have not claimed the weapon when they arrive, they will find another way to destroy it. Another way? They will destroy the moon, the planet, the entire system if they must. Millions of human lives, ended to bury this secret forever. Sun Wu's eyes were cold. That is the choice, Kang Taeho. Walk away and let billions die in ignorance, or stay and become something more than human. Taeho felt the weight of those words. He thought of his empty apartment, his failed business, his meaningless life. He thought of all the people who would never know they were in danger. How long, he asked. How long until they come? Sun Wu looked toward the hangar ceiling, toward the stars beyond. They are already on their way. The fleet arrived 3 days later. Taeho watched them on the hangar's ancient screens. 12 ships, each one larger than any human vessel he had ever seen. They were not like the elder ships in the old footage. These were newer, sleeker, but they carried the same cold design, the same alien angles that no human would create. At the head of the fleet was a command ship. It was massive, 1 kilometer long, covered in weapons that glowed with stored energy. On its hull was a symbol Taeho did not recognize, but Sun Wu did. The Galactic Trade Union, the Watcher said. They call themselves peacekeepers now, merchants and diplomats, but their leaders are still elder race, the Velith. They have not forgotten. A communication signal came through. The screens flickered, and a face appeared. It was almost human. 2 eyes, a nose, a mouth. But the proportions were wrong. The eyes were too large. The skin was too smooth. The mouth did not move when it spoke. I am Admiral Voss of the Galactic Trade Union Fleet, the voice said. I am addressing the occupant of Orbital Hangar 77. You have entered restricted space. You will surrender yourself and the contents of the hangar immediately. Taeho looked at Sun Wu. The Watcher nodded. He pressed the communication button. This is Kang Taeho. I am the legal owner of this hangar. I bought it at a government auction. I have broken no laws. There was a pause. Then Voss laughed. It was a strange sound, like metal scraping glass. Laws. You humans are so fond of your laws. They make you feel safe. The Admiral's eyes narrowed. I am not here to discuss laws, human. I am here for the artifact. You will surrender it, or you will die. I don't know what you're talking about. Do not lie to me. Voss leaned forward. We have watched that hangar for 600 years. We know what it contains. We know what it can do. And we know that you have been speaking with the creature that guards it. Taeho's throat was dry. What do you want? I want the weapon destroyed. I want the hangar erased from existence. I want every trace of what your ancestors did removed from history. Voss paused. But I am not unreasonable. Surrender now, and I will let you live. I will give you wealth beyond imagination. A new ship, a new name, a new life far from here. And if I refuse, then I will reduce this hangar to atoms, along with you and everyone in it. The communication ended. Hana stood beside Taeho. Her face was pale but steady. Can they do it? Can they destroy this place? Sun Wu shook its head. No, the First Builder's technology protects the hangar from external attack. Their weapons cannot touch us. Then why are they threatening? Because they hope you will surrender. They hope you will give up the weapon willingly. Sun Wu's eyes were cold. They are afraid, Kang Taeho. For 600 years, they have been afraid. And fear makes even the elder races desperate. Outside, the fleet began to move. The ships spread out, surrounding the hangar in a sphere of metal and weapons. Warning lights flashed across the screens. They're charging their main guns, Hana said. Sun Wu did not seem worried. Let them. The first shot came. A beam of pure white light, bright enough to blind. It struck the hangar directly. Nothing happened. The energy splashed against an invisible barrier. scattering into harmless sparks. The hangar did not shake. The walls did not crack. It was as if the shot had never existed. More shots followed. The entire fleet fired at once. The space around the hangar became a storm of light and fire. Tejo watched the screens, waiting for the end. The end did not come. When the firing stopped, the hangar was untouched. Not a single scratch. Voss's face appeared again. This time, the Admiral did not look confident. The two large eyes were wide. The smooth face was tight with something that might have been fear. "Impossible," Voss whispered. Sunwoo stepped forward. Its voice echoed through the communication systems. "I told your ancestors the same thing 600 years ago, Elder. Your weapons cannot harm this place. Your fleets cannot touch what the first builders protect." The Watcher smiled. It was not a friendly expression. "You should have listened. We will find another way. We will destroy the moon. We will destroy the entire system. And kill millions of humans? The species you promised to leave in peace?" Sunwoo shook its head. "Do it. Break your treaty. Show the galaxy what the elder races truly are. See how long your precious trade union survives when humanity learns the truth." The fleet hung motionless in space. Tejo understood. The elder races were powerful, but they were not invincible. They had enemies. They had rivals. If they broke the peace with humanity openly, others would notice. Others would act. The elders were trapped by their own lies. "You think you have won," Voss said finally. "You think this changes anything. It does not. We have watched you for 600 years. We will watch you for 600 more. And eventually, you will make a mistake. You will leave that hangar. You will let your guard down. And when you do, we will be waiting." The communication ended. The fleet began to withdraw. Hana let out a breath. They're leaving. For now, Sunwoo watched the ships retreat. They will return. They always return. Tejo turned to the Watcher. "You said there was a choice. You said I could walk away. You can. The door will open. The Elder Fleet will not harm you. They want the weapon destroyed, not publicized. If you leave empty-handed, they will let you go. But they'll keep watching. They'll keep waiting. And eventually, someone else will buy this hangar. Someone who might not be as lucky." Yes. Tejo looked at the screens. The Elder Fleet was almost gone, their ships disappearing into the darkness between stars. He thought about his life, his failures, his empty future. He thought about what Sunwoo had said, about humanity's forgotten victory, about the power that had saved their species once before. "Tell me about the weapon," he said. "Tell me what it really is." Sunwoo's expression changed. Something like hope flickered in those ancient eyes. "The weapon is not a gun. It is not a bomb. It is not a machine." The Watcher walked to the Black Throne Room. The ship itself is the weapon. The first builders designed it to interface with human consciousness, to turn thought into reality. "I don't understand. The elder races are old. They are powerful, but they are also rigid. Their minds work in patterns, in rules, in limitations." Sunwoo touched the black stone throne. "Humans are different. Your minds are chaos, creativity, madness. The first builders saw this. They saw potential that the elders could never have." Hana stepped forward. "The first builders created the elders. Why would they give humans a weapon to destroy them?" "Because the elders were a mistake, a first draft. Powerful, but flawed." Sunwoo looked at them both. Humanity was their second attempt, their hope for something better. And before they left this universe, they wanted to give you a chance. A chance for what? To become what they could not. Sunwoo sat on the throne. The black stone began to glow. "The weapon is a test, Tejo. A key. Not to destroy the elder races, but to surpass them, to become the next stage of evolution in this galaxy. The light grew brighter. The hangar trembled. The previous owners failed because they wanted power for themselves. They were selfish, small. The weapon rejected them. Sunwoo's voice was changing, becoming deeper, older. But you came here with nothing. You expected nothing, and when given the choice to run, you stayed. Not for power, not for wealth, but because you could not let others suffer for your cowardice. The light reached Tejo. It was warm, inviting. That is what the first builders sought. That is what humanity is meant to be. Not conquerors, not destroyers, but guardians, protectors of those who cannot protect themselves. Sunwoo extended a gray hand. Will you accept this burden, Kang Tejo? Will you become what your ancestors were meant to become? Tejo looked at Hana. She nodded once. He took the Watcher's hand. Tejo opened his eyes. He was standing on the bridge of a ship. Not the rusted wreck he had explored for weeks. Something new, something alive. The walls glowed with soft blue light. The floor hummed with power. Through the wide windows, he could see the stars. And he could feel them. Every star, every planet, every ship within 1,000 light-years, they were all connected to him now. He could sense them like a man might sense his own heartbeat. Close, intimate, part of himself. What did you do to me? He whispered. Sunwoo stood beside him, but the Watcher had changed too. The gray skin was fading. Color was returning to those ancient features. For the first time in 600 years, Cho Sunwoo looked almost human. I gave you what I carried for so long, Sunwoo said. The connection to the weapon, the link to the first builder's power. The old captain smiled. It was a tired smile. My watch is finally over. Tejo looked at his hands. They looked normal, felt normal, but he knew they were not. He could feel the ship responding to his thoughts. He could feel the hangar walls dissolving around them, revealing the true form of what had been hidden for centuries. The ship was beautiful. It was shaped like a teardrop, smooth and elegant. Its hull was not metal. It was something else. Something that shifted and changed as he watched, responding to his emotions. When he felt wonder, it glowed brighter. When he felt fear, it hardened into armor. The first builders called it a hardship, Sunwoo said. It grows from the mind of its pilot. It becomes what they need it to become. What happened to the old ship? To KRS-0071? It was never the weapon. It was only the shell, the disguise. Sunwoo looked around the bridge. The true weapon was always inside, waiting, sleeping, until someone worthy came to wake it. An alarm sounded. The screen showed the Elder Fleet returning. Admiral Voss had brought reinforcements. 20 ships now. 30. More arriving every minute. Voss's voice came through the speakers. What have you done? What have you awakened? Tejo did not answer. He simply thought, and the ship responded. The hardship turned to face the fleet. Its hull shifted, forming weapons that had no name in any human language. Stop, Voss commanded. Stop, or we will open fire. Tejo thought of the Elder Fleet. He thought of the weapons pointed at him. He thought about what those weapons could do to innocent people, to Earth, to all the human colonies that had no idea they were in danger. And he felt something new. Not fear, not anger. Pity. The elder races had ruled this galaxy for millions of years. They had built empires. They had conquered species. They had thought themselves gods. And they had spent 600 years terrified of one small ship in an abandoned hangar. What must it be like, he wondered, to be so powerful and so afraid? The fleet opened fire. Beams of light, missiles, weapons that bent space itself. Everything the elder races had developed over eons of war. Tejo raised his hand. The attack stopped. Not deflected, not absorbed, simply stopped, frozen in place like insects in amber. "How?" Voss screamed. Tejo understood now. The weapon was not about power. It was about will. The elder races thought in rules, in limits, in what was possible and impossible. But humans did not think that way. Humans imagined the impossible, and then made it real. The first builders had seen that potential. They had built the Warship to amplify it, to turn human creativity into reality. Tejo simply decided the fleet could not harm him. And so, it could not. "I'm not going to destroy you," Tejo said. His voice carried across space, reaching every ship in the fleet. "I could, but I won't." "Then what do you want?" Voss asked. Tejo thought about the question. What did he want? A week ago he would have said money, safety, a future, simple things, small things. Now he wanted something larger. "I want the truth," he said. "I want humanity to know what really happened during the silence years. I want them to know that we are not newcomers. We are not weak. We are not animals to be pitied or controlled. If you tell them, they will want war. They will want revenge. Maybe, or maybe they'll want peace. Real peace, built on truth instead of lies." Tejo looked at the frozen weapons, still hanging in space. "Either way, it should be their choice, not yours." Voss was silent. The old captain was almost fully human now. His hair was gray, his face lined with age, but his eyes were clear. "I spent 600 years as a monster," Sun Wu said. "I watched my crew die. I watched my family turn to dust. I watched everything I loved disappear. And the worst part was not the loneliness. It was the silence, knowing the truth and being unable to share it." He looked at Tejo. "Do not make the same mistake the elder races made. Do not rule through fear. Do not hide behind lies. If humanity is to be great, they must be great in the light, not in the shadows." Tejo nodded. He turned back to the fleet. "Admiral Voss, I'm going to release your weapons. Your ships will be unharmed. You will leave human space. You will not return unless invited." He paused. "And you will tell your leaders what you saw here today. Tell them the Warship has awakened. Tell them humanity remembers." The frozen weapons disappeared, simply sent away, scattered across space like leaves in wind. The elder fleet hung motionless. Then, slowly, the ships began to turn. One by one they activated their drives and fled toward the darkness between stars. Voss was the last to leave. The Admiral's face appeared on the screens one final time. "This is not over, human. We have enemies older than your species, powers you cannot imagine. You think awakening this weapon makes you safe?" Voss laughed bitterly. "It makes you a target. The first builders did not simply leave this galaxy. They were driven out. And those who drove them out are still watching." The communication ended. The command ship disappeared into the void. Tejo stood alone on the bridge, surrounded by stars. Hana appeared beside him. She had been in the medical bay, sleeping through the transformation. Now, she was awake, staring at the bridge with wide eyes. "You actually did it. We did it." Tejo smiled. It was the first real smile he had felt in months. "I couldn't have done any of this without you." Hana looked out the windows. The dead moon was below them. Beyond it, the stars stretched to infinity. "What happens now?" she asked. Tejo thought about the question. He thought about Earth, about the colonies, about all the humans who had no idea what their ancestors had achieved, or what dangers were still waiting in the dark. He thought about Sun Wu's warning, about the enemies beyond the elder races, about the ones who had driven out the first builders. And he thought about a $1 hangar, bought by a broke man with nothing left to lose. "Now we find out what else is buried," he said. "Now we learn what humanity forgot, and now we prepare." "Prepare for what?" Tejo looked at the stars. Somewhere out there, something was watching. something older than the elders. Something that had destroyed civilizations before humans had even existed. But he was not afraid. He had been afraid his whole life. Afraid of failure. Afraid of loss. Afraid of being worthless. And where had that fear gotten him? A failed business. An empty apartment. A life without meaning. No more. He had spent $1 and bought himself a destiny. He had faced the darkness and found something worth protecting. He had been tested by an ancient guardian and found worthy. Now it was time to show the galaxy what that was worth. Prepare for whatever comes next, he said. The elder races spent 600 years trying to keep humanity small. They failed, and whoever comes after them will fail too. He looked at Hana. She was scared. He can see it in her eyes. But she was also standing beside him, the way she always had. Because that's what humans do, he said. We survive. We adapt. We refuse to give up. And when someone tells us we can't do something, we prove them wrong. The heartship hummed with power. The stars waited. Behind them, Sun Wu watched from the doorway. The old captain was fully human now, mortal again after 6 centuries of isolation. He would die soon, he knew this, and he was glad. But before he died, he wanted to see what came next. He wanted to see what humanity would become when they finally learned the truth about themselves. He had a feeling it would be something magnificent, and something terrifying. The ship turned toward Earth. There was a story to tell, a truth to share, and a future to build. Kang Taeho, former salvage dealer, now guardian of humanity's greatest secret, guided his ship into the stars. The journey had just begun.